Hello viewers and my fellow technicians, you are welcome to my new repairing video. If you are coming across my videos for the first time, please make sure to subscribe, like, comment and share. Also click on the notification bell so that you get notified every time I drop a new video like this. On today's video, we are going to be repairing the MEMS mic. Now this is a mic that is very difficult for some technicians to do, but if you have the right knowledge, it's a very easy thing to do. And also we are going to be seeing the importance of keeping replaced parts from client's phone like this. For instance, if you check right there, you see I have a whole lot of charging PCBs that I have replaced already. These ones are not charging anymore, but you realize that on this charging PCB there are so many components that can be used on a daily basis. Now you can't keep all of them, but you can select a few good ones to keep that you might need some components from it to use. For instance, this Samsung charging PCB, you can remove the mic, that's the MEMS mic. It has a connector and every other thing that you can see on it. As a mobile phone repair technician, you have to know that you don't just discard replaced parts from clients' phones like this. Some may come in handy when you need them on a rainy day. So let's get right into it. From the previous part of the video, hello. It's recording, so you see the waveform. Normally, if it's recording, the waveform is supposed to go up and down and higher. So what do? First off, we remove the old mic that is not working anymore, as you can see right there. And next thing we want to do here is to use our desoldering wick to clear off the leftover solder paste from the PCB. The leftover solder paste is the one from the company, so we have to clear it and replace with a low melt solder paste. Now you need your desoldering wick and you have to set your soldering iron to about 350 degrees or 370 degrees so you can easily take off the old solder on the bonding parts. Now once you clean off the old solder paste, next you need your cleaning agent and your brush or your foam to clean off the residual flux on the bonding part before preparing the PCB for the mic replacement. Now I was trying to scratch this area because on most PCBs there's always a linked surface, like the copper that is found under the PCB is always linked throughout that entire area. On scratching the part, I discovered that this PCB was made different. It was not like the regular Techno, Intel and Infinix or other Samsung devices that I know. So from this point on, I knew the only thing I could do later on was to use the heat from the air gun, and you have to be very careful with the heat because these mics, most technicians don't really repair them or are scared of repairing them because the mics are very sensitive to heat. So the least heat you apply to it that is much, it just kills the mic. So most technicians always tend to run away from it. And you need to know that most of these mics are always mounted around the charging port area. So when you try to replace the charging port and apply too much heat, you end up with a phone that is charging but without any mic talking, as it was the case of this one. So now you have to replace the old solder that we just desoldered away with the low melt solder paste. The solder paste I'm using for this is 138 degrees, which has a very low melting temperature. So with this solder paste, you don't have to heat the PCB very much for the mic to bond to its bonding part. Now let's move over to the PCB where I'm going to be removing the donor mic. Now if you check me scratching this other PCB, you'll notice there is a layer of copper under this part which links all of that area. So due to the fact that it's linked to this area, heat can spread from this area right up to the or right up to under the mic. Now what I'm doing here is I'm trying to apply the solder flux, then apply some solder paste on the scratch parts, and then use the heat from the soldering iron to heat and flow the heat throughout the entire area, so I pick out the mic without applying any heat on it. Remember, this process is very important because we are trying to get off this donor mic without damaging it from the donor PCB. Now, another reason why some technicians don't go ahead to change or replace these mics is because they don't understand how to apply the proper heat and airflow from your heat gun. Now, these mics, to replace them, need a very controlled heat. Without it, you cannot be able to succeed. So, applying the heat from the soldering iron, it takes a longer time. You should know that I have forwarded this video or increased the play speed so the video doesn't take a very long time. But if you apply your own, do not be in a haste. Don't pull it out in a haste. Allow the heat to do the job. Now you have to place the soldering iron on the part and make sure the heat flows through the entire part. Once the heat flows through the entire part, you have to use your tweezer to check when the mic is ready to move. Once it's ready to move, then you can pick the mic off and get it to a clean surface and prep it ready for installation on the PCB that you need to reinstall. If you check right there at this point in time, you see the flux flowing very well, which tells you that it's almost time to pick up this mic. Just a little bit of patience. It's going to come up very soon, my fellow technicians. You just need to be very patient when doing such jobs. Now, micro soldering is a job that needs absolute patience and calmness. That is why, if you notice, most mobile phone technicians that are into board level repairs or micro soldering mostly work in a very calm and quiet environment, preferably at the comfort of their homes, because when doing such repairs you need absolute silence and you need to be steady and focus on what you are doing, because one silly mistake might render the client's phone bad and might not turn on again, which will create you more problems with the client. So you need to be very focused when you're doing such repairs. Now, to mount back the mic that we got from the donor board on the PCB that we need, first off, you need to apply a little bit of flux on the bonding part. Then you need to set your air temperature, your temperature and your airflow on your heat gun to a certain level that might not affect the mic. Now for this repair, the temperatures I used was 330 degrees for heat and 20% airflow. Now this is very important because if you apply too much heat, like I explained before, this mic is not going to work. You might end up destroying the mic and you have to do the process again. So at times this flux is very sticky when you've heated it before, and when you try to position the mic, it's always sticking to it or any other component you were working on. But what is needed here is just heat. If you notice right there, I'm hitting the mic from a very far distance with the parameters I told you before. So you need to hit to a certain level, and just like mounting other SMD components, you need to check to see if the mic has bonded with the bonding part, and alignment is very important when doing mobile repairs and mounting surface devices like this, SMD components like this. Now once the mic was mounted, next thing I had to do was to put back the protective shield that was covering the mic. And it's the same process. You just need to align it very well and use the same heat to make sure the protective shield sits in place. Also, the flux is very important. Like I always tell you in my videos, the flux is the only thing that makes the solder paste flows very well. So again, you notice I was hitting from a very far distance. so as not to damage the mic internally. And once the protective shield was set, that was all. You need to stop heating. Next thing you need to do is to bring in your cleaning agent again and clean the area to remove all the residual flux that has been used on that area. Clean gently without damaging other components around that area. That's why you need a very soft sponge, and you need a very good alcohol to clean off this area once you're done working. If you are a beginner and you want to advance your mobile phone repairs from basic to advanced level, you can contact my mentor Sergis Mike Tech to get his block diagram master or his online courses. Now he is giving the courses on a very good discount. It's a very good time for you to purchase the courses and also get the block diagram master, which is the one book for every mobile phone technician.
I want chip level book. I think you have interest in knowing more about my book, The Block Diagram Master. You learn advanced mobile repairing. To be specific, you study block diagrams of every single circuit. We have block diagrams, we have schematic diagrams, then we have the PCB. So if you study block diagrams, you fully understand what the PCB, what a particular circuit is made up of, how a particular chip totally functions. By understanding all this, you will be able to easily understand how you can start troubleshooting a phone, or where you have to go straight to troubleshoot a phone based on what the complaint is from the customer.
Testing the microphone, testing 1 2 1 2. Testing the microphone, testing 1 2 1.